Hey everybody, Blaise here, and I'm really excited to tell you guys that I've got a brand new course that I just finished up, and it's my approach to painting in Photoshop. I've been working in Photoshop for about the last 10 years, and I've kind of developed my own way of working. As many of you know, I come from a very traditional background of drawing, painting, and animation. And I made that transition over into the digital world about 10 years ago. And the great thing about Photoshop is that it's allowed me to take a lot of that traditional thinking and apply it and adapt it to the way I work digitally. So that's what I put together in this course. It's kind of my thinking, my way, my approach to digital painting in Photoshop. There's over 12 hours of content, 12 and a half hours to be exact, where I take you through brush creation. I'm going to take you through creating textures, all kinds of different things. But I'm also doing full real-time paintings, character design, creature design, and just regular digital painting. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It's going to be released today on my website at creatureartteacher.com. Once again, that's the art of Aaron Blaise, and that's creatureartteacher.com. And it's, like I said, it's just full of stuff. And like I do with all of my courses, I wanted to release one of the videos out to you guys so you can get a little bit of a sense of what it is that's within the course. And so in this video, this is guiding the eye through light and shadow. I wanted to talk a little bit about what I think about when I'm creating my lighting in my paintings, and how I apply that to my composition and guide the viewer's eye throughout. So that's what this video is all about. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you come over to the website and get the course, I hope you enjoy that as well. And one other thing I wanted to let you know is included with the course is my entire elephant skin texture pack, which is it's a ton of textures that I've created, and I use these textures quite a bit in a lot of my creature creation, and I use them exclusively in this in one of the demos that I do in the video. So that's going to be included in the course, so you get that as well. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this video. Come on over to creatureartteacher.com and check it out, and I hope to see you soon. We got a lot more courses coming down the pike, and get out there, keep painting, put beauty back into the world, because that's what we need. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Bye. Okay, so in this next video, I want to talk about the importance of light and shadow and contrast and all those things that help create a more dynamic illustration. I very often use shadow against light, or light against shadow, however you want to put it, and contrast in order to create more drama and to guide the eye really in my illustrations. And I want to kind of show you my thinking, the way I do it. Let's just jump into this. Right here, I've got this illustration that I did actually a couple of years ago, but I wanted to break it down a little bit. And I wanted foreground elements to be kind of in shadow. So I did that. But as I was drawing this, as I was creating it, I didn't feel like I was getting enough attention towards the lioness's head, and I wanted that to me, that her sitting at attention, looking at something off screen, like something's catching her attention. I wanted that tension, and I felt like there wasn't enough drama in the illustration. It felt kind of blah, and this is where I was, and so I just want to show you, just through this technique that I use, how great it can be just by adding shadow. You can get to a place like this where it feels like everything's rendered, everything's nice, but it just needs something else. And that's what I want to talk to you about. So let's get into this. So the first thing is I want her head to be the center of attention. And I've got a lot of contrast in there, and that feels good. But the first thing I might do is I'm going to maybe push the hour of day, maybe pull the hour of day down a little bit. And I've got kind of this turquoisey green kind of background. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go up to the image adjustments, and I'm going to Hue and Saturation. And I'm going to drop the value down. I'm going to darken it a little bit. And then I'm also going to change the hue. And I want it to go, because as I'm darkening it, I want it to feel like it's a little bit more twilight. You know, a little bit later time of day. I'm going to hit OK. Now what I might do is I'm going to come up in here, and I've created these kind of misty atmospheric backgrounds. And I might pull back on some of that opacity, just so it's not so misty. So now already we've got a little bit more contrast on that head, and I like that. I want this to feel though like it's low light, okay? So one thing I might do is I'm going to come up to the top. Actually, I'll do it right over our lioness. These are my lioness layers. I'm going to come right over the top. And because this is kind of an orangey color, I want to go the opposite. So I'm going to go blue. The opposite of orange is blue. I'm going to keep it still kind of grayish. But I'm going to come in there, and I've created this new layer, and I'm going to set it to multiply. Now I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and I'm going to use, let's see. I'm going to use this brush right here. I want to go into the brush presets, and I want to go into the shape. I want to pull back on that spacing a little bit. It's a nice texture. That's one of the things I like about it. And then I'm going to go into my dual brush setting. And I think I might want to change what brush it is, because I want a little bit more texture on it. So I'm thinking about this. Let me play with the size a little bit. Maybe a little scatter. That feels pretty good. Let me see what that looks like. That's not too bad. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to knock the opacity down. I'm going to take off the tapering, the pressure sensitivity. I want to knock back that opacity. And what I want to do is I want to create a little bit of drama. I want to imagine he's looking, maybe into, or she's looking into that sunlight a little bit. And the only way you can do that is to create shadow. And because I've got it set to multiply, I can create some shadow here. I'm going to push the opacity up just a little bit. I'm going to let that ear cast a shadow, and maybe she's getting a little bit of, I'll pull that back just a little bit of shadow in here, maybe off a little bit in here, definitely in here, off the bottom of the chin. And the idea being is I really want it to feel like she's looking into light, and I'm going to push the drama. Push the opacity, or push the contrast, I should say, not opacity. And maybe that chin is casting a shadow right back onto her neck. Knock the size of the brush up a little bit. Knock the opacity back. There we go. There. So I want a little bit of drama. And I often do this. I'll look at an illustration and I'll think I have it planned out pretty well. But then I'm going to go back to my eraser here. I'm just going to knock that opacity down just a little bit so I can get kind of subtle with the eraser. And I'll look at it and go, you know what? It could be better. I'm always looking at my stuff saying, you know what? It could be a little bit better. And just through shadow, this is what this whole lesson is about. Just through light and shadow, you can create some really great eye-catching drama. Okay, so all of this on her body will basically be in shadow. And knock that opacity back again. Kind of pick up the shape of that shoulder blade. But it still doesn't feel strong enough. I like I like the shadow here. I might even go a touch darker with it. Push that even more. Didn't really do much. But you can see I'm getting a much better sense of light on it. But maybe it could be really dramatic. And this is where it gets fun. I really want this to stand out, but I've got a lot of bright contrast between the darkness here and the foliage and the lightness of her body. It's drawing my attention. These two areas are competing for my attention. So what if I just kind of came in, knock that opacity back, and created a shadow across her body? Like there's something off screen that's creating a shadow and casting it across her body. And it's going right up into the grasses behind her. Maybe it comes even further across, like so. And we put all of that into shadow. Like that. Now I'm going to come in with my smudge tool. I can come in and kind of blur that out a little bit. There. Come back up here. I want to make that a little stronger. Maybe cut it back just a bit with my eraser. I'll go back and forth about where that shadow hits to make it look. I don't like that shadow kind of coming across and hitting like where her leg bends, because it looks like it detaches from the body. So I want to make sure that shadow feels like it's part of the body. Creating drama through light and shadow. That's what we're doing here. So that feels pretty good. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a layer over the top right up here, and I want to pull all this together. I'm going to set it to multiply. There we go. Just let all of that go right over the top of her. And I want to darken all of this up. Darken it, darken it, darken it. There we go. A little bit of shadow back here. I'll kick some of this back. Where are we? Where am I? Back here. I kick some of this back a little bit. Back up to my shadow up here. And you can see now I'm starting to bring the attention back to the lioness. I'm going to lighten up her shadow just a bit. There, that feels pretty good. Now it feels good. Let's put a layer up on top. I'm going to set that to multiply. Once again, I want to keep pushing that attention up towards the top. So I'm going to darken all of this. I can do it with the brush like I'm doing now, or there's another method. I could use the gradient tool, and that tends to work pretty good. Except I like kind of keeping this nice and organic, like so. Now we're getting some nice drama up there. Now let's see what because I've got the lioness on her own layer. I'm going to try going underneath her, and I just want to see what happens. I want to go ahead and create a new layer like I've done, and go ahead and set that to multiply. And what if we continue with some of these shadows? I'm not liking this brush. Let's go in. I want to get rid of the wet edges. Maybe get a little scatter, size, shape dynamics. Oh, I don't want that on there. Yeah, shape dynamics. I want that off. I want pen pressure off. And I'm going to go into angle jitter a little bit. Flip the X, and that's not really doing anything. So I'm going to come back. See if that helps a little bit, soften the edges. Can come back in here. And you can see what I'm doing. So I'm creating a shadow back there. And I can come back in with my eraser. Just hit it. Break it up. Break up those lines. Make that shadow feel a little bit more organic. But I'm getting a little bit of contrast now on her. So that's feeling interesting. I like that. Now, what I really want is I want to feel that sunlight hitting her face. So I might come in here and create a new layer, and I'm going to set it to overlay. And I want to get a really warm light. Go really orange with it. And I'm just going to come in. Just want to see what it does. Lightly work over the top of it. Might even go darker. And it might not be exactly what I want, but I just want to work it and see what happens. Because the great thing about working on extra layers is we can always get rid of it. You know, if I don't like it, I can boop, go back to that. Now, one of the things I do like about it, I like that it's warming it up, but it's warming it up just maybe a little too much. So what I can do is I can come up to my image adjustments and hue and saturation. I can pull that saturation down just a touch. And then I can pull the opacity back just a bit. Now we're getting a nice warmth in there that feels a little bit more, you know, I like the orange playing against this blue, you know, that blue that we have in there. So now I'm getting the contrast that I'm looking for. And now one more thing I might do, just to pull back on it just a touch. So I think I might turn that mist off altogether. That haze. Actually, I take that back. I kind of like that a little bit in there. It gives it a little bit of life, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my hue and saturation again. I'm going to pump up that saturation. What happens if I change the hue? Make it a little redder. Just a touch. It's a little hard to see, but I think that helps. Now we're getting something that's really kind of cool. I'm going to flip it. One of the things I do a lot, I'm going to flip it horizontally. I like to look at my image backwards, and because now I'm seeing it in a new light. I'm seeing it in a way that I didn't see before. And this is creating, I like this. I like what's happening in here. One of the things I think I need are, I got to fix this shadow a little bit more. I want to come in and fix that blend. Just a touch. There we go. And once again, I want to get behind that cat, and I want to add, I think I want to get even darker with it. So I'm going to go in with that blue, go a little darker, and just get in there and paint. Paint the shadows on, all set to multiply. There we go. Maybe we get a little bit in there. Yeah, right over the top. I want to get maybe a little bit more in here. Maybe it's so that the tops of the grasses are just catching some light. Darken all this up. Get it really nice and in shadow. So now I'm really playing against, you know, I'm playing light against dark. And that feels good to me. I want to clean up this shadow up here a little bit. All right. We'll go down and flip that back around. Now look at that sense of light we've got. It feels really strong. I want to come in just a little bit darker, maybe a little bluer. Just a little bluer, a little darker. And I'm going to add some shadow up here. I really want to play that that blue against the orange of the cat. There we go. That feels much better. Just going in a few areas just to deepen the shadows just a little bit, but I'm generally keeping it all the same value. Dark. I want to darken those grasses. There we go. So now we're getting something that's a lot more dramatic. This I like. This is what I think about. You know, and oftentimes I'm not planning those shadows. I'll get, like I said earlier, I'll get into the image and go, you know what, the drama isn't there. I had an image in my head and it's not coming out with the emotion and the drama that I want. And so often you'll see me go in and I'll start playing with shadow in order to direct the eye. I'm trying to direct the eye with light and shadow. We can do one more thing. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this as Lioness Reclining Demo. I'm going to try one more thing. I want to talk about warms and cools. You know, this is one of the things that, you know, I'm always trying to think about. We've got the warm light and the cool shadows. And I think about opposites. I think about complementary colors. And so if I have a nice orange warm afternoon light like I'm trying to create here, then in the shadows I'm going to create blue shadows. I want those oranges and blues, which are complements or opposite colors, I want them to play against each other. So I'm going to try creating a normal layer now, and I'm just going to go in maybe just a little bit of reflected light up on top. I want it to be more blue, really play up the blue. Let's bring it over here, see what happens. I want to play the blue against the orange. Sometimes it's too much. And that feels a little too much. And that's the thing too, you know, push things until it feels like it's too much. I'm going to come in here, pull that back a little bit, gray it out. There. Just enough blue in there to give, you know, get our sense of complements. And I'm going to come back on here. I think I want to bring that blue back up into there. There we go. Got a nice sense of form playing off of these shadows. There we go. I think we get a little bit of shadow coming off the muzzle too. Just a bit. There, I like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and grab my eraser, come down into here. Actually, not my eraser. I'm going to grab my smudge tool and I want to hit some of these. Just break up some of those shapes a little bit. Get it to feel a little more organic. But I'm liking the shadows now. Now watch what we can do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to just flatten everything. Just going to flatten it. So I've got it all down to one layer. And before I do anything else, I like to save as the demo flat. So now I've got it saved as a separate file, and the other one is still preserved. So I want to go in, I've copied the background, and I want to get nice warm light like we have right here. I'm going to come up and I'm going to grab my big airbrush. I'm going to set my blend mode to color dodge. I'm going to bring the percentage down to about 6%. I'll bring it up to 8%. And I'm going to bring the size of the brush way up. And I want to start making it feel like the sun is really hitting the sky. And go even warmer with it. Or I should say this gal. So now I want to get nice and bright. It's hitting some back here. Really hitting the, even get a little glow off of her. Maybe the ears are they're getting light shining through. See how I can brighten that up? Like she's getting light shining right through the ears. And right back in here. Come over here. I want this all to feel nice and hot. Playing against the shadows. I like playing the contrast. Now that feels a little too hot, but this is what we can do because I copied that background. I can come back in now with my eraser. I'm going to grab my airbrush eraser. Got it. I'm going to knock the opacity down. And I can come in where I feel like it's a little too much. I can just push it back because I've got the original underneath. Just push it back just a little bit. And now I've got that contrast that I was looking for. I've got the drama and I've got the contrast that I was looking for. All through just using light and shadow and using the overlay and multiply blend modes and using the color dodge. Blend mode on the brush. So keep that in mind when you get an illustration done and you're looking at it and you're going, you know what, it needs something. Try playing with shadow. Remember, your eye is going to go where the most interest is, and a lot of times the most interest is where the contrast is. And so that's what I tried to do here. I try to make everything interesting with all the foliage and all of that, but the biggest thing was I wanted the eye to be drawn to the brightness and the contrast of the dark, the ears, the nostrils, the lips, all of that. And that's where I wanted you to feel her pose and her attention and everything else. So that's how I manipulate and guide the eye through light and shadow. Why don't we move on to the next video?